Good afternoon, everyone. Guys, so Vladimir Putin, the Russian regime, they are stockpiling ballistic missiles from Iran, and we can only assume, and I think it's a fair assumption, that these are going to be used within days, within weeks in Ukraine. Now, I think, and guys, this video, I'm going to give you the facts, and then I'm going to give you my speculation on what's happening behind the scenes and what's happening on the ground. Remember, guys, all right, I've got friends who've been operating in Ukraine since 2014. You know, I still know a lot of people who are out there. I get messages all the time from on the ground in Ukraine. So what I'm going to tell you is going to be a lot of my speculation, a lot of on the ground knowledge from which is going to be first, potentially second hand. And it's not going to be the trash that you guys get force-fed on the mainstream. So we do have to go with something though, guys, but I'm going to go with this article here by, oh, I've lost it. Here we are. What's it? I think it's The Guardian. I think it's The Guardian. Yeah, The Guardian. So Russia has received ballistic missiles from Iran and will likely use them within weeks in Ukraine, the US warns. So this has been, you know, they've been saying this is going to happen for quite a while now. I'm speculating that this has been happening for weeks already, and they're only coming out with it now because they've got further intelligence that could be pointing towards a mass escalation, a mass, you know, missile strike in this region. And guys, also, let's just keep at the back of our heads the video I did yesterday about the Falklands. I can't remember what I called it. I did a video on the Falklands, and I said how all this is connected. Now, remember when Putin said he would arm the West's adversaries with long-range missiles? You know, guys, I'm beyond no illusion some of these missiles could find their way going down to Argentina and then threaten the Falklands Islands, and that's got the whole oil scenario, World War III, Antarctica going off down there. But let's just stay on point and keep focused on Ukraine for the moment. Russia has now received shipments of ballistic missiles from Iran and will likely use them within weeks in Ukraine against the Ukrainians, the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said today. So this is only an hour old, guys. So, you know, he's come out and he said this. Remember when the Americans and Western intelligence were saying, you know, there's going to be an invasion of Ukraine, and even the Ukrainians were coming out on the news and saying, no, there's not going to be an invasion. You guys are wild. There's going to be no invasion, you know. And then lo and behold, there was an invasion. You know, these things come out and they tell us these things are happening. Remember, nothing's hidden anymore, guys. Everything's out there. I think this has a lot of credibility. Why am I saying that? Well, apart from Pokrov's, you've not really seen a response from Putin. So be under no illusion, Putin will be furious that the Ukrainians had the audacity to go into his country. This looks really bad for the Russians. And the Russians haven't really responded at all. But guys, be under no illusion, they will. And I think this is what they're gearing up to right now, because they want this mass effect. They want this shock and awe. And guys, right now, imagine where you're going to be when this happens, when this mass escalation happens. Remember what we've got on the back foot of this. We've got this EU training mission to push the EU soldiers into Ukraine, which would be a relief in place. So you would get that northern corridor with Belarus emptied, and you would get all the way up to the Dnipro. That's where the NATO troops, I think, would be. Anyway, let's continue. The Secretary of State said that Washington has warned Tehran, both publicly and privately, that providing ballistic missiles would constitute a dramatic escalation. Guys, I always struggle to see the legitimacy of one country telling another country who they can and cannot sell stuff to. You know, it's absolutely absurd. Are the Iranians warning America that, you know, giving weapons to Ukraine is a dramatic escalation? Guys, it's ridiculous, all right? These two countries are at war. They've got allies. it's a little bit embarrassing for people to be pointing the finger, and it's kind of like the kettle calling the pot black. It makes it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, we've got our alliances, we've got countries we support, and that's kind of where we are at the moment. We can't change it. We can't do anything about it. I know a lot of you guys, well, some of you guys are considering moving to Russia. I think it's a bad idea, but, you know, that's your choice. So when we talk about these escalations developing, these escalations are going to develop. This is a war. Neither side can back down. Tell me, guys, if you think right now, either anyone can see a side how the Russians can back down and keep face and not collapse, and how Ukraine can back down and the West not collapse. Both sides, this is East versus West, both fighting for their survival. So while we all think this is a war in a faraway land, in a faraway country that we've got no relevance to, guys, this is East versus West. If the Russians win this, you know, expect the dollar to be worthless within, I don't know, within a couple of months, you know, because people won't be the dollar won't be the world's reserve currency anymore. You know, people won't be able to trade in dollars. The US oil market, the US oil, everybody trading in US dollars for oil, that's all gone. Energy, all the rest of it, guys, it's gone. And we might as well just accept, if that happens, that Vladimir Putin is the new leader of the, could we call it a free world? Equally, you know, on the flip side of that coin, if NATO, because it is NATO, you know, if Ukraine managed to push Russia back any further, expel Russians out of their ground, they're not going to stop there. The Ukrainians will want a buffer zone around their country. They'll say, look, you know, you guys can't come any closer to us. You've done this too many times. We want 10 kilometers of your land because as a buffer zone, that's going to be a semi-autonomous region, and that will be the fall of Russia. Russia will get balkanized. So, guys, when you think about this conflict, that's what both, you know, I don't want to say sides, both opposing armies, both opposing combatants, that's what's at stake. The development and growing cooperation between Russia and Iran threatens European security and demonstrates how Iran's destabilizing influences reaches far beyond the Middle East, he said. So destabilizing influences. So straight away, what we've got there is what, and again, he may not be alluding to it, but I certainly am. Saboteurs, you know, sabotage, guys. We know it's happening in Europe, but we can never point the finger on who funds this. The Iranians, they say that they all go and check. I'll put some links in the description. But the Iranians do a lot of soft war, even when they're not at war with the country. They'll try and destabilize that country because they can. You can do a lot of this stuff online, and why wouldn't you try to constantly destabilize your adversaries in times of peace? It makes no sense not to, if at some point you know you're going to be in a conflict with them. Where's the other thing, guys? Yeah, here we are. So Russia and Iran's constant cooperation between Russia and Iran. So what we mean here, guys, Iran is giving Russia ballistic missiles. Do we really think that the Russians are not helping the Iranians build nuclear weapons? Does anyone think that? Is anyone thinking, oh, the Iranians are just giving the Russians ballistic missiles, and the Russians are not sending any of their scientists in these deep underground labs to work with the Iranians to show them how to reach, you know, and I think they need to get 90% uranium enrichment. You know, does anyone think that that's not happening, guys? Because, you know, I would speculate it's almost a certainty that you've got some Russian scientists working with the Iranians in deep underground laboratories, you know, and they've got Russian, Iranian kit and equipment. They're sharing technology. They're sharing, maybe even the Russians are taking them enriched, uranium, I think. So that's what we've got, and that is happening right now. If you remember, I've said this quite a few times. You've got back in November 23, the US signed a decree or some they passed a law or something that said under no circumstances can the Iranians develop a nuclear weapon, and a nuclear-armed Iran would be an unacceptable risk in that region. So here, if you read the subtext of this little thing here, guys, this development and the growing cooperation between Russia and Iran threatens European security and let's just leave it there, European security, threatens European security. So what they're talking about there is, I think, they could be alluding to Iran getting a hold of a nuclear weapon, and then they've already said, the United States, that that is unacceptable. By unacceptable, that would be they would need to do intervention, and that kind of means US boots on the ground in the Middle East. Now that's just me speculating, but what I've said about the laws passed, what they're saying here, all this stuff's true, it's correct, it's right there in black and white in front of you. Blinken also said the US will announce new sanctions on Iran. I don't know how much they can sanction these people, because, we think these sanctions are doing something, but, apart from them not having McDonald's and Starbucks, I don't know how far these sanctions are going. We've seen that the sanctions on Russia actually help the Russian economy grow, and they hurt us in the West. So when the West put sanctions on Russia, all that meant is, right, Russia, we're going to teach you a lesson, and we're going to put our own fuel prices up. It reminds me of that thing, on, what's the film? Austin Powers, where he's like, number 2, he's got those goggles, and he's looking at the guy, and they're playing that 21 or whatever, and he gets like 18 or something, and he says, twist. And the guy who's dealing the cards, he says, but sir, you have 18, and number 2, he says, I like to live dangerously. And he turns the card, and it's like a 3, and everybody's clapping. He's going, oh, and then Austin Powers gets on, and he gets 20, and then Austin Powers gets his cards or something, and he's got 21, so he's won. And he says, twist. And the guy says, but sir, you have 21. And he says, I also like to live dangerously. This is kind of what it sounds like to me. The sanctions on these other countries, all they do is put our own prices up. So whereas we've sanctioned Russia, we've grown their economy, we've given them the strongest economy they've ever had. We've actually weakened our own economy, we've weakened our own production, and we've raised our energy cost. I also like to live dangerously. So anyway, these sanctions are ridiculous. The British Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, guys, I struggle not to laugh when I hear David Lammy's voice name appear. The British Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, after he tied his shoelaces and was called a good boy, big boy, called the supply of ballistic missiles from Iran to Russia a significant escalation. Well, well done, David. I mean, I don't know if he can, I don't know if he operates his own social media or not, but, we have got a situation. And guys, when I'm criticizing David Lammy, it's because he shouldn't be there. He really should not be in that position, guys. And that's nothing, I've got nothing against him. I've got stuff for my country, and when I live in my country and somebody from my country has to go and negotiate with these foreign leaders, with these with these oligarchs, with these criminals, with these warlords, and the best man we can produce is David Lammy. Guys, we need somebody who's got worldly experience. David Lammy just doesn't have any. He was in a law company for, I think, 3 years, and then he's had a job in Parliament. How does he know how how Eastern Europe works? How does he know how the Middle East works? He can only judge things with his Western tinted eyes. And that's nothing against him. He just doesn't have the experience, and that's the reality. He's been in the Westminster bubble where he's been told what's happening by, people who are paid to tell him what's happening. Okay, so who's paying those people who are telling you to tell me? This is the problem, guys. When like a politician asks for a report written on something, that report has to be written by someone. And that someone has to get paid for that report. So who's paying him or her to write that report? And what agenda have they got, whoever's paying? Because, you need to follow the money back on all these things. For example, if I was still doing analysis reports and somebody told me to write a report, and they have done, and they say, right, Sean, you need to write a report on this. Yeah, okay, got it. Can you focus on these areas? Sure. You're paying me. I will do whatever, that's how it works. Because then if I write a report and it doesn't focus on those areas, I give it to whoever's paying me and they're saying, yeah, Sean, dude, you've done like 50 pages, like we said, and we like it, but you've not focused on these items. We're not paying you. So then all that work I've done, maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks work, writing a report, researching, making sure everything checks out, cross-referencing everything. 2 weeks work, gone. So you just have to do as you're told. And that's how it works. So then I give that report and I'm an independent, and I would be an independent, what's the word I'm looking for? Author. I've got no ties, and it's not done in such a way that it's like a conspiracy where somebody comes up to you and they're like, Sean, yeah, mate, you need to write a report, but you need to make it damning towards that. That's not how it works. They'll just say, right, Sean, write a report on X, Y, and Z, focus on these 3 key elements and how they're degrading to this. Okay. And then you do it. And then that's what David Lammy would get. Whoever's paid me has told David Lammy what they're getting. So what agenda does that person have? And this is how the whole system works. And this is why I'm making videos for you fine people. So you guys know how the game works. But anyway, guys, I've waffled on for far too long. This was supposed to be a 10-minute video. Obviously, I'm at 16 minutes and 6 seconds. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Oh, I have forgot my banner. I'll put the banner on right now for the last couple of minutes to make me look semi-professional. But the problem was, guys, I saw these escalations and I was like, right, I need to get these out to you guys as quickly as possible. So don't forget to go and like my other socials down there, guys. We're growing this channel. We're growing our other channel. We're growing every day. We're going to start I'm building a studio so I can have guests. We can have like a little podcast to and fro. We're going to start going live. We've got a few people lined up who want to come on and talk. Guys, it's going to be awesome. Anyway, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll try and get back to each and every one of your comments. What I will say as well, guys, sometimes when you guys respond to like a comment in the chat, on a thread or something, I don't know where those messages go. Some of the messages, I genuinely can't see them. I can see you've posted because I get a notification on my phone. When I click that, it just takes me to the homepage on YouTube, and I have no idea how to find your comments. I don't know whether they've been deleted, whether I'm looking at it wrong. I genuinely don't know, guys, but I will respond to each and every one of your comments as I can. But be aware, some of them just vanish, guys, and I don't know where they are. I see them on my phone, and I'm like, where are you? Where are you? And I just can't find them. Anyway, guys, I'm going to mag to grid and get you another video later.